last night. One game apiece now after they beat the Celtics 107-88. Steph led all scorers with 29 points while shooting 9 for 21 from the floor. Maybe you heard Skip's comments. I don't know, Shannon. Give Steph a letter grade for last night's performance.
I gave him an A-, Skip, because he wasn't efficient at all. He was 9 of 21. He was 5 of 12 from 3. But those 10 points in the first quarter, he kept them in the ball game until they can get their legs up on them, and then they made a push late. They took the lead. And in the third quarter, when they blew the game open, he had 14 points. And I like the fact that he had those 14 points, but he gave you 3 steals also. So he gave you 29. And Skip, he's been the best. He's been the best player in these first two games. He's been the best player on the court. And last night, even though they didn't shoot the ball particularly well, you said, okay, Stephen, you gave me 21 in the first quarter, but you was out of gas after that. He said, you know what?
Out of gas?
Yeah.
I just don't know how you're out of gas in game 1 of the finals.
But
are you rusty, or you got to get your wind and your legs up?
But he paced himself.
Okay.
He paced himself. And then 10 in the first quarter, 14 in the third quarter when they blew the ball game open, I gave him an A-. If he had a little better efficiency, he'd have got an A, maybe an A+, because he did give you 3 steals, Skip. And, we know Steph Curry is not Gary Payton. Even though a GP is from the Bay, that's not what Steph does. Steph is never going to make an all-NBA defensive team, but he played the passing lane last night. But the Boston Celtics, Skip, I'm trying to figure it out. Jaylen Brown calls for the ball. He calls for a pick, but he's standing in the corner. He gets the ball. Robert Williams brings the ball to him, tries to set a pick. They trap him. He turns it over. So a lot of this has to be self-inflicted. Steph Curry was the beneficiary of that steal. So for me, I gave him an A-. Had he been a little bit more efficient, he'd have probably got an A+, because I thought he played well last night, and you need him to play well or you going to be done.
A+?
No, I gave him A-, but I would have. Had he been efficient, Skip, he was 9 of 21. It's hard for me to give you an A+ when you're 9 of 21 and you're 5 of 12 from the 3.
Okay, I reiterate, I am grading on the steepest curve because the man across from me is making the case that if Steph wins MVP of this finals, he just might vault into the all-time top 10.
Yeah.
That is the curve upon which I am harshly grading Steph Curry. I will give him a B for last night because I thought he was pretty good last night. I also thought he owed his team from what didn't happen from Steph Curry in game 1. So you make the case he's been the best player on the floor, and man, how can you make that case? I'm not sure there's been a best player on the floor. If you try to do MVP after 2 games.
It's Steph Curry.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to reiterate what he did in game 1, your MVP of the series after 2 games. He hit 6 threes in the first quarter. He scored 21 points in the first quarter. And the rest of the way, he scored over the last 3 quarters 13 total points. He scored a grand total of 4 points in the fourth quarter.
Right.
The last 3 quarters, he made 1 of 7 threes. Think about that. 6 of 7 in the first quarter, 1 of 7 over the last 3 quarters of a very winnable game. All the way into the fourth quarter, when with 6:05 remaining, Steph made a little up and under 2-point shot that gave Golden State a 3-point lead. This is game 1 of the finals in his house.
Right.
They're up 3, and over the last 6 minutes and 5 seconds, Boston goes on a 20-5 run as Steph misses his last 3 shots and does not score another point the rest of the way from 6:05 to the finish. And you're saying he's been the best player on the floor? Seriously?
But Skip, it's kind of hard to do something with like what happened with the Celtics last night. When you miss your shots and they make their shots, or you turn the ball over on your possessions and they come down and make their shots, it's going to be very difficult. You mentioned Steph missed his only 3 shots that he took after the 6:05 mark, but no one else was making shots either. If you look at the production that he got last night, okay, Wiggins gave you 11, Looney gave you 12, Clay gave you 11, Poole gave you 17. Those guys they didn't give you that kind of production.
One should have belonged to Steph Curry at home. It just you're up 3 thanks to you, 2-point shot. And the last 6:05, you give up a 20-5 run and you don't score another point, that's on you.
Skip.
If you're soon to be a top 10 all-time ranked player, you got to bring that one home. And he disappeared. He shrank. He came up even smaller than he is.
What about that 40-piece? When you make 7, 8 threes in a quarter, and you only, you don't miss but a handful of shots. And it's going to be very difficult for you to overcome that. Steph Curry by himself wasn't going to overcome that. Even if Steph Curry scores 21.
1 of 7 from 3 over the last 3 quarters. That's just wrong.
Even
you know it, and I know it.
Here's the thing. Even if Steph gives you 21, when nobody else gives you anything, the Celtics scored 40.
Okay, I got it. But it's your house. It's your time. It's your potential, your opportunity to rise into the all-time top 10, and you did not jump off to the races.
No. Hold on. Tell me, Skip. It wasn't he going to come into the top 10 if he wins game 1. If he wins the finals, he's finals
set
MVP.
The tone and you got to go.
But you said
you lost game 1.
But let me ask you,
at home.
But you just told
when you gave your team a 3-point lead with 6:05 to go. Would Larry Bird have spit the bit down the stretch?
You just told me that after what happened last night, the Warriors gained momentum going into game 3. You just told me that.
No,
what does game 1 have? Are these games transferable?
No, he owed his team for game 1.
Okay, and he delivered.
And he was pretty good in the first quarter. At least they hung on for dear life in the first quarter.
Yes.
After your 2 young wingmen go 13 and 13 in the first quarter, he was pretty good. And then he was nowhere to be found in the second quarter.
He gave you 5. He had 15 points in the half.
He was nowhere to be found for the first 3 minutes of the third quarter.
Oh, my God.
And he missed 2 threes. And the game's nip-tuck, back, forth, teeter-totter. Right?
Skip, we can't do that. Skip, we can't take moments of the game. The guy gives you 14, and you talk about the first 3 minutes.
I just told you I got a grade on the highest curve. I'm grading an all-time top 10 player.
I promise you, there were segments in which Jordan scored 17 points in the quarter. He might have went 3 or 4 minutes without scoring.
Yeah, he went 6-0 in the finals.
Okay, I got Skip. But
Steph has how many rings?
So let me ask you a question. So he's 24-0. That means he won every single game that he played in the NBA Finals. Is that what I'm hearing? Because you make it seem like you can't lose a game. Even if they lost game 1, they still had a chance.
You lose it. That's all that matters is how. If you give your team a 3-point lead with 6:05 left, even Shannon Sharp would say, you got to take that.
You know what? I would have loved to have heard when Jordan lost the game and he went 5 of 19. I would have loved to hear people. I wish these shows existed then, because I would have loved to hear people's critique. After he scores 50 in one game and he comes back and goes 5 of 19 and they lose. I wonder if the critique would have been as they are for superstars today. Because people make it seem like Jordan scored 35 points every single game he ever played. And you know that's not the case.
Okay. Again, he's the greatest player ever, and I grade him harshly by that position.
But Skip, all I'm saying is this notion that a guy has to play great every game, every minute. That's what you're doing with Steph.
Game 1 is the tone setter.
No, it's not.
Oh, stop.
God, hold on. So Michael Jordan,
what are the stats on game 1? I don't have them right here.
I know a guy.
75%.
I know a guy in his first NBA Finals lost game 1 in 91 at Chicago Stadium.
I was there.
Was it the tone setter? As a matter of fact, the Lakers didn't win another game. Was it the tone setter? No.
It happens.
Okay.
Occasionally, but only occasionally.
Okay.
Rarely. Okay, so what happened last night? He missed his first 2 threes in the third quarter, and I'm thinking they are in big trouble. And here comes Clay, and I showed you to start the show. Clay made a big shot, and it seemed to just lift the lid off the basket.
The man made 1 3.
Okay,
he was 1 of 8.
3, and he made another up and under, a little running layup, blow by Jaylen Brown. And all of a sudden, Steph said, I got this. And once he starts getting cocky, once the mouth guard starts dangling from the lip, once he starts strutting his stuff, he went crazy after. He didn't go crazy until Clay made that 3. And I think it was an extremely significant shot for Steph to think, okay, we got it now, because that finally gave them a little bit of a cushion. Remember, they're down 9 fairly late in the first quarter.
Yes.
All of a sudden, they go up 7 thanks to the first and last 3 by Klay Thompson. And then if we could see what happened after that 3 by Clay, could we see what happened from Steph from that moment on? Because here's your salvo. Here's your Steph explosion. He gets Al Horford on skates and bottom. And here we go. These are his 3 free throws. 1 thanks to a tech on Ime, who just couldn't take it anymore. And he comes back and makes another one by himself. This is going to be a 10-point let's see, it'd be 3, 3, 3, be 9,
11.
12 straight points that he finishes off the quarter with. That's just that flat-out bomb. I thought that's when it's like, okay, we got this. And obviously Jordan Poole added 2 cannonballs into the Poole shots, which they're just ridiculous shots from 29 feet and then 39 feet, and it was game over. And all of a sudden you look up at the score, and you are cooked. After 3 quarters, thanks to that salvo from Steph. So I'll give you a B for the salvo.
But my thing is with you is that when somebody else goes and Steph doesn't go, you're like, Steph, if you're that guy, you got to come along. Now, okay, Klay Thompson hits 1 3, Steph goes for 14, and you're like, well, it was because Klay did this. I mean, how does he win?
Well, I just do it. I can't argue if he did
He did that.
He did not do it in game 1. That was pathetic.
Skip, game 1 is over. We're talking about game 2.
I got it, but I said he owed his team for game 1.
Did he give it? So go ahead and give him an A then. He delivered.
No, I'm not going to give him an A. Well, it was, you said it was highly inefficient.
Yes.
Highly inefficient. Well, how can I, wait a second. I'm grading an all-time top 10 player, and I'm saying, well, if you go 9 or 21, I'll give you an A+.
No, I didn't see. There you go. I did not give him an A+.
You were leaning.
I said, had he been more efficient, yes, I would have. I gave him an A-.
Well, I gave him a B. And
what about those 3 steals?
Huh?
What about those 3 steals?
And also, on defense down the stretch of the third quarter, Steve Kerr gave him props for how hard he played on defense, and I do too. But if we're talking about all-time top 10, that's a B performance.